Hello, Dr. Rhodes.
My name is Mitchell Wissinger.
My name is Nick Konjerski,
My name is Jake Polina.
and we are part of the Safety Council. Today, we are here talking about the compliance issue on the spraying and storage of MEK, methyl ethyl ketone. The status is urgent due to the significant increase in volume and work in the last year at our facility. Construction of a spray booth is in much need for production. Since outside contractors cause turmoil, a decision has been made from the board of directors along with operations management that the facility is to operate spray coating inside the facility.
Hazards from improper operation. There's chemical imbalance, atmospheric imbalance, lack of ventilation, exposure to skin, eyes, respiratory system, etc., and inadequate cleaning.
And touching up on chemical imbalance, this is working during the painting phase due to not turning the unit on, simply operating in the wrong phase, or could be clogging the filters. Touching up on the atmospheric imbalance in the environment, it could be caused by the emission of the solids and airborne particles of the painting substance, MEK. Other than that, it could be due to insufficient operation of the exhaust paint arrestor filters.
First step to reducing the risk of these hazards causing an accident, it would be to control the sources of ignition. You could do that several ways by installing administrative and engineering controls. Some administrative controls would be a hot work permit, no open flames, no sparks, no smoking, and the elimination of surfaces above auto ignition temperatures of flammable materials being used. Some engineering controls to be put in place could include electrical equipment and instrumentation classified for the zone 0, which is where the vapors are constantly available or constantly in the area, and also the earthing of all plant equipment, and lastly, lightning protection on the outside of the building.
In order to control ignitable atmospheres, in general, all spraying areas shall be provided with mechanical ventilation, adequate to removable flammable vapors, mists, or powders to a safe location, and to confine in operation at all times while spraying so that life is not endangered. The ventilation shall be kept in operation at all times while spraying and being conducted at a sufficient time thereafter to follow or to allow vapors that can escape the atmosphere and finishing materials residue to be exhausted. Another way to control the ignitable atmospheres is controlling the air that is exhausted from the room. This air shall not contaminate any air that is being introduced into the spraying booth or other ventilating intakes, nor directed as to create a nuisance. Air exhausted from spray operation shall not be recirculated, and this shall be by encapsulation and intrinsically safe equipment.
Limitations of available fuel. There is the LEL and the UEL. The lower exposure limit is the lowest concentration of a gas or vapor in the air capable of producing a flash of fire in presence of an ignition source. For example, is an arc, flame, or just a heat source. The upper exposure limit is the highest concentration of gas or vapor in the air capable of producing a flash or fire in the presence of an ignition source. Basically the same thing, just the higher. We also have methyl ethyl ketone. The OSHA PEL is 200 ppm. The UEL is 11.4%, and the LEL is 1.4%. And the respirator recommendations is a full face mask with a chin style front or back mounted organic vapor canister.
For efficient isolation of the process, a partition and a firewall will be separated from the facility. The spray booth will be a power ventilated structure provided to enclose or accommodate the spraying and the operation, as well as to limit the escape of the spray, vapor, and residue, and do it in a safely and willful way to direct them to an exhaust system. The separation shall be from other operations by the distance of the firewall and the partition in the wall. Such partition is to reduce the danger of the juxtaposition of the hazardous operations in the spray booth.
In order to prevent explosions, all metals must be sprayed with a non-combustible liquid. All metal parts like exhaust ducts and piping systems conveying flammable liquids must be properly electrically grounded. You must also be on the lookout for sparks, and lastly, always wear the proper PPE. The proper PPE that you would be wearing would be goggles for the eyes. You'd also want to wear like a hazmat suit or just a suit that covers your entire skin so you don't get in contact with it. Also, you'd want to wear the proper mask so your target organs like your lungs and heart and brain aren't affected.
2 separate storages shall be maintained. For 1, the PPE, and 2 is for the chemical. The PPE that will be stored in there is the protective clothing, the protective gloves, the protective goggles, and the full phase respirator. That will be stored separately than the chemical itself. Both will be stored in a flame resistant container, which will be talked about in the costs and benefits in the next section. Personal protective equipment shall be provided, used, and maintained by sanitary and reliable conditions wherever is necessary by reason of hazard or processes of the spraying. The cost for a mid-size cross-flow paint booth that is fully enclosed is anywhere between $5,000 and $10,000. The one that we were looking for the specific chemical of MEK was around roughly $6,000. The paint booth will consist of lighting, the floor protection, the interior protection, things like that. And Jake would also.
The interior lighting, it costs around $425. It's pricey because it has to be like sealed,
properly grounded.
The floor protection, you can't have anything like any residue on the floor, so it has to be like well sealed.
Well kept for cleaning purposes.
And we had
the filters for the paint booth were another $100. We need cleaning supplies. The exhaust ventilation system is going to be around roughly $2,000. That'll include the hood as well for that. The fire suppression system with the sprinklers is going to be roughly $4,000. And resistive storage, fire resistive storage should only be around $400 per container for the PPE, as well as the storage of the chemical alone.
We have the PPE. The goggles cost around $66. If you want to get the facial with the respirator, about $1,500. The hazmat suit runs around $280. If you want to get a face and an eye wash for any like accidents that would happen in the paint booth, it runs around $230. And to store all that, there's the closed storage, which costs almost $400. Lastly, we have the non-smoking sign, and overall, the entire labor to manufacture the paint booth runs anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how well you want to put together, I guess. The grand total ends up being around $19,000 to $20,000, and it's pricey. But I mean, if you want to have that budget overall, if you didn't have all this stuff, the fines that you could have or the injuries all could lead to a much more expensive cost. So
expenditures from direct costs, indirect costs, it's going to be much higher, exponentially higher in the future. The budget we gave is roughly between $19,000 and $20,000. think the budget's more than reasonable for management to oversee. With these budgets, I think we will have a more than compliant spray booth, and something that is gonna this is something that's for long term and can be used frequently and more often. And as long as it's well kept, cleaned, and maintained, I believe this operation can go very far.
So as far as our sources go, we used OSHA's site a lot to find a lot of the standards for our spray booth, and also the CDC site.
Center for Disease Control did help us out a lot. It helped us find the PEL for MEK. It also helped us out with finding the routes of exposure, and we also found overexposure limits, so we can pick the PPE accordingly. Which is why we picked the full face respirator. The average worker in the spray booth shall be working anywhere from between an hour a day and 8 hours a day, and with being exposed to the MEK, should not be above around 2,400 ppm, which is why we chose the full phase respirator, because that protects up to 3,000 ppm for an 8-hour work shift. We want to thank you, and again, we are from the Safety Council. My name is Nick Konjerski,
My name is Jake Polina.
My name's Mitchell Wissinger.
and we appreciate your time, and we hope that you can help us out with this budget, and we can build this spray booth and get on the rolling and get a production going, and everything can be well and safe, and have a great day. I don't know.